John, in his 30s, was eager to return to his apartment in one of the complex streets of New York after a job that extended until midnight. Upon finally arriving at the building where his apartment was located, everything seemed ordinary in the parking garage. He entered the elevator. His apartment was on the top floor of the 9-story building. The building was quiet. Other than the mechanical creaking of the elevator and the television noise leaking from old Harry's apartment, there was no other sound. Almost half of the building was vacant, and it was likely that the remaining residents in the other half were asleep at this hour. When the elevator passed the 6th floor, John was startled by a woman's scream. A single scream came from a distance, followed by a muffled moan. The elevator suddenly stopped on the 7th floor. In the dark corridor, a silhouette of a man dragging a large travel bag towards the elevator emerged about 5 or 6 steps ahead. When the man saw John, he dropped the bag he was holding and quickly approached the elevator. John noticed that the man had something shiny in his hand, and he heard the moan again. It was a tearful, exhausted woman's voice. The voice was coming from the open door of the apartment at the end of the corridor behind the man. John panicked and pressed the close button of the elevator. Over and over again. Finally, the elevator doors closed, and it started moving up. John was out of breath. He knew his neighbor in that apartment. It was Stella, a 45-year-old woman who lived with her 7-year-old son. John desperately wanted to call the police, but his phone had no signal. When he reached the upper floor, he heard someone climbing the stairs hurriedly. It was highly likely the same person. John stayed in the elevator and anxiously pressed the button to close the doors, waiting for them to close. He thought about shouting to alert the entire building, but he wasn't sure if anyone would come to help him. Besides, shouting might trigger the mysterious silhouette to commit another crime. He thought of the knife in the man's hand, and he felt his breath catch. John realized it wasn't safe to leave the elevator until he found a solution. If he could manage to get off before the man, he would rush to his car and call the police as he left the building. But it might be too late for Stella by then. He didn't know her condition, but she was alive and in need of help. It was clear that the mysterious man needed an elevator to carry the travel bag. There were no footsteps coming from the stairs. The man was carrying something heavy, and using the stairs with that large bag would be both difficult and time-consuming for him. Whatever was in that bag must belong to Stella. Maybe her son was inside it, John thought. But was the child alive? He considered what he could do until the police and ambulance arrived. John got off the elevator at the parking garage, and immediately the elevator doors closed and started moving up to the upper floors again. This time, the elevator was going up for the mysterious man. John quickly called the police and nervously reported every detail of the situation. The police and ambulance were dispatched immediately, but could they catch the mysterious man before he left the building with the bag? John thought about going upstairs to administer first aid to Stella. When he saw the elevator descending, he would immediately head for the stairs and rush to Stella's side. What if she was dead? John shuddered for a moment. What about her son? Was he really inside that travel bag? The only way to find out would be through a proper confrontation. John decided to wait for the elevator here for the sake of the child. He didn't know how he would confront the man, but when it came to a little child, he felt driven by a soldier's spirit. He would rescue the poor child from that terrible man's clutches. John took a crowbar from his car and hid behind the column next to the elevator. The elevator finally reached the parking garage floor. John took a deep breath and quietly took his attack position. The elevator doors opened. The man headed towards a car with the bag in his hand. Something was moving inside the bag. Indeed, the little child must be inside. John quickly ran up and hit the man's head and back with the crowbar. The man collapsed. John opened the travel bag and took out the child. There were some jewelry and a little money in the bag as well. The child was breathless and semi-conscious. John picked him up and took him outside the building. The lights of the police and ambulance illuminated the entire street. While handing over the child to the authorities, John informed the police that the culprit was still inside and he might have injured him severely. The mysterious man was alive. John went upstairs with the police to show them the apartment as soon as possible. When he saw Stella, she was lying on the floor covered in blood. She had been injured in the throat and arms. Her hands and feet were tied, and her mouth was taped shut with a large bandage. The chair she had fallen from was lying next to her on the floor. The police approached the injured woman and confirmed that she was alive. The medical teams intervened in the incident urgently. As the woman was being taken down on a stretcher, John told her, "Don't worry, Stella. Your son is safe. I saved him. You'll be fine too." It was soon revealed that the mysterious man was Stella's former drug-addicted husband. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. Fortunately, Stella and her son recovered quickly. John Bennett was hailed as a hero in New York. He made headlines in all the newspapers and gave interviews to several news channels.